From her perspective as a lawyer and a lecturer, in what ways can the law and the judicial service contribute to maintaining safe online environment in respect to our cultural values and norms for young people while also respecting their digital rights?
In Ghana, it will not be accurate to say that we do not have some laws or some regulatory framework that seeks to sanitize the use of the online space. Well, you could make the argument that they may not be targeted or detailed in a manner that takes care of only the social media space, but there's a plethora of frameworks that are, in existence to ensure that the social media space is sanitized. So we have laws on cybersecurity, we have laws on data protection, the Electronic Transactions Act, the Cybersecurity Act, the Data Protection Act. Those are all legislation that, in my opinion, to a large extent goes to regulate the use of social media. But some have also made the case that there may be the need for more detailed regulation outside of this regulatory framework that I have just given. But it remains my respectful opinion that to the extent that whatever detailed regulation may be brought into existence is only meant at curtailing the excesses of the use of social media, that may be just okay. But we need to at all times uphold the right of persons to freely express themselves on various issues, even using social media as a medium. It is important for users of social media, particularly our young people, to realize that it is not an unregulated space like some people make it appear. There are a body of laws that are there to ensure that the social media space is safe for everyone. When you look at legislation like the Electronic Transactions Act and even the Data Protection Act, those are there to regulate the use of personal information on the internet and to ensure that no breaches are committed in that regard. Secondly, the Cybersecurity Act, even more importantly in my opinion, prevents or prohibits the sharing of explicit material on social media or on the internet space, and there are grave sanctions that come with violations of some of these laws. Also closely related to that is copyright infringement. Many a times, many of our social media users have, developed this habit of taking other people's creations and using it, passing it off as if it were theirs without the appropriate acknowledgement or recognition to the original creators of these images and what have you. You can actually be prosecuted for the sharing of explicit material on social media, and this will be done under the Cybersecurity Act as well as relevant provisions of the Criminal Offences Act. Similarly, how you use personal information that comes to you can actually constitute a breach of the Data Protection Act and the Electronic Transactions Act. Again, a civil action can be brought against you in cases where you defame others, regardless of whether this defamation is carried out on social media or on some other platform. So it is important that even in the current scheme of affairs as we have it in Ghana, there are a number of legislation that is present to ensure a safe use of our internet space. In making a case for the inculcation of Ghanaian cultural values and norms into possible regulation of social media, the only request would be that the legislature, in the event that they decide to pass laws, specific laws to regulate the use of social media, should take into consideration these cultural values and norms that underpin the society that we find ourselves in. In as much as you want to express your views on matters, it is also important that you have respect for the rights of others, because like the saying goes, where one's rights begins is where another person's rights ends, or rather where one's rights ends is where another person's rights also begins.